Hi, and welcome to the President's Forum podcast. Today, we're exploring one of the most pressing challenges in higher education today. That's academic integrity in the age of artificial intelligence. AI is transforming how students learn and how institutions assess that learning. It's also creating new risks, from companies seeking to exploit testing systems to the rise of businesses designed to bypass authentic assessment. Joining us today is Heather Jacques, Assistant General Counsel at WGU. Heather brings a wealth of expertise in higher education law. At WGU, she plays a critical role in safeguarding academic quality and integrity in a fully online, competency-based learning environment that serves more than 135,000 students nationwide. Today, we'll talk about how institutions can protect students while also harnessing AI for good. Heather, thanks for joining us today. This is going to be a good conversation.
Absolutely.
We talk a lot about academic integrity, but we talk about more academic integrity now than ever with AI.
Absolutely.
And so we'd love to explore some of these things from your perspective as legal counsel at an academic institution that crosses paths with AI and academic integrity every single day. So let's start from a baseline of what is academic integrity in your perspective.
So for us at WGU, academic integrity really means three basic things. You submit your own work for credit, you don't take credit for work that isn't yours, and you properly attribute sources that you use. So It hasn't changed much since the advent of AI and the powerful tools that we have now. But the conversation has changed because it's so much easier to pass off work that isn't yours.
Yeah, clearly that's an issue. And sometimes, like in today's world, that could be done purposely, and it could be done accidentally almost. I mean, so many of the applications we have in programs that we use now utilize AI for like a meeting synopsis or
even fixing grammar, right?
Right. So there is a really distinct issue that we have to deal with there. From counsel's position, you are doing this for students and faculty?
Yes, although our focus is mostly on students and ensuring that their credentials reflect their own attainment of knowledge and of skill so that when they go into the workforce, they're actually competent.
Right. Now, there has been for a long time this small but growing business built around, these businesses would say around tutoring, around, on-demand services to help students with their academic work. Others would say it's a cheating service. Tell us a little bit about how that industry has started, grown, where it's going, and kind of the legal risks that you see in that industry.
So it did start as pretty homegrown, or there would be services here and there, and then came to be an over $1 billion industry. You can think of some pretty significant tutoring services providers that really are providing cheating services to students, and they're very predatory. They take advantage of students by luring them in with what they think might be sort of honest academic aids, and then moving them on to services where they're having people write their papers or take their tests for them through screen sharing. And so for us to really address academic authenticity, it has to be more than just a focus on students. It also has to be a way of addressing this massive industry that has grown up and is taking advantage of students.
It's interesting how it can slow walk students down a path that they don't even know that they're going on.
Yes.
And so you have to be really proactive as an institution to figure that out. WGU is great at building curriculum, working on assessment, and other processes. What does academic integrity, thinking about academic integrity and figuring out how to assess students for their learning, how has that changed? What's the response from WGU been to respond to these, tutoring businesses?
So surprisingly, there's not much law in the U.S. that helps us with this. There's really an insufficient legal framework and not much regulation in this area. It's different in other countries. The UK and Australia, for example, have pretty robust laws in this area, and even government agencies
That's interesting
that
that
enforce.
Foreign countries have better.
Yes.
But I've found that there are, regulatory measures to keep up with technology in the U.S. are always lacking.
Yes.
The policy process just lags technology. So you're seeing that in your response right now.
We are seeing that, and WGU has been involved in founding an organization called the Credential Integrity Action Alliance that is focusing on lobbying for legislative change so that we do have a legal landscape, but it is going to take much more of a holistic approach to really address this through what you mentioned, like looking very carefully at our assessments and how we're assessing students. We're rolling out a new AI policy that tries to help students understand that there are responsible and ethical uses of AI, but there are also uses of it that really will result in devaluing their own degrees and credentials.
I'm glad that you're doing that, because in a world where you grow up with this technology, it might be legitimately hard for students to recognize what is okay and what's not okay.
Absolutely.
And so helping them understand what's not okay in an academic environment is probably a nice service for them.
Well, and interestingly, the response that we've seen to this policy has been really favorable thus far on
that's
Reddit.
nice.
They were notified of it just a couple of weeks ago. And so I think there are students who genuinely want guidance in this area and want to make sure that, because AI is the future, they're learning how to use it, but they're learning how to use it in a way that won't result in them not being able to really demonstrate the skills and competencies they're supposed to be learning.
Right. So there is a clear student role here. It's not just the institution.
Right.
There's a clear student role, and they have to be educated on that. What about, you mentioned that you're addressing this through an association, through an alliance that you're building. Tell us what the role of disparate players coming together to work on this together might look like.
Well, I think for us to really be effective in this space, we have to look at higher ed institutions coming together. We have to look at these private advocacy groups, I would qualify CIAA as one of those. I think we also have to look at getting government involved, and the tech industry really needs to be involved in a conversation where there's some responsibility and accountability for the amazing tools they are developing that can be misused in ways that don't actually benefit humanity and society.
Yeah, there's a role for a lot of different associations, a lot of different stakeholders in this, for
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, I want to just wrap this with, okay, so you've been working on this for how many years now?
I would say...
You personally?
3 or 4 for me
3
personally.
Or 4. And from year one, 3 or 4 years ago, to now, how different is this issue? Has it evolved much? Or, give us a perspective on how quickly this thing changes.
I mean, I think from the moment that ChatGPT became widely available, the conversation changed, because it is so easy to access resources that before were harder to find, that you had to pay for.
Yeah.
And it's just at everyone's fingertips. And so the conversation has shifted, and it's become a conversation about how do we prevent students from cheating, to how do we ensure that all of the players in this very dynamic and quickly changing field are working together to ensure that we have a workforce and a society that are well trained for the future.
Right. I mean, I just can't tell you how much from presidents, university presidents, in the forum, that this topic has changed over the last 4 years.
I believe it.
I mean, it's amazing how, and there's some real upsides too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to academic integrity issues, but the same thing that makes academic integrity more of an issue also means that you can leverage it to, drive student outcomes and service student needs in a much quicker, more effective way. And so, presidents are looking at this not only from the potential downside to learning and to the workforce, having hollow credentials, for instance, but they're also looking at the upside of, how can we personalize education using these same tools? So it's kind of an interesting balancing act that you've got to work to minimize the risk and maximize the opportunity, right?
Yes, and I think that there needs to be a change to the narrative, and that we can't do anything because we have these AI tools. We can't do anything about academic integrity. There's all these negatives to it. How do we partner together to ensure that the positives that you just listed are really the outcome of this technology?
Yeah, and I think the approach that you're taking is really solid, and that is you have to work with alliances on this. You have to bring stakeholders together, understand the upside, understand the risks, and just do that, mitigate the risks, right? And work together to do that. It can't be one institution.
No.
Especially with such a technology that's so transformational for society.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of work to do. Well, I'm glad that we have you so close in proximity that you can come in person, and we'll keep this in mind as things develop on academic integrity issues, specifically in AI moving forward, and we'll have you back in for updates.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Heather. As you know, at the President's Forum, we're committed to elevating these conversations and supporting institutions as they innovate with accountability. To our listeners, thanks for joining us today, and stay tuned for future episodes where we'll continue to explore how higher education can adapt boldly, responsibly, and always with learners at the center.